Hello, beautiful people. It's Quinton from the Hunters of Light, and today we've got another session on macro photography, and this time with Shaun McCabe. I absolutely love his images. It just makes these creatures seem so human and so personable when you see them almost at life size. The details, their faces. There's so much character in them that I just thought we have to chat to Shaun and show some of his work. If this is the first time that you're watching this channel, thank you very much for watching. We really appreciate it. Remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that we can inform you when we've got new content coming up. If you're back again, thank you so much. Really appreciate you guys watching this. All of these subscriptions help the channel, help us create content for you, and just keep the whole thing going. Cue the intro. And action. Cue the intro. Hey Shaun, it's great to chat to you, have you on the line. The images that I've seen on the Facebook group are fantastic. I mean, that fly on the little eggs, even that weevil that you shot, that you put up, I think it was yesterday. Really cool. I love it. I can't wait to get into the rest of your images. But I think let's start off. First of all, thank you very much. It's awesome to have you on.
And maybe for having me.
That's a pleasure, man. Let's start off with how did you start doing this photography? You've mentioned that it's this is your hobby. It's not your real life. Your dream is to shoot for a living. But tell us about where it started and how you got to shoot macro.
How far back do you want to go? Like kids or?
Well, you tell me. Was it a case of your grandfather gave you a camera and et cetera, or was it not one of those?
No, not at all. This is more in terms of nature and really loving animals. And then from there, I mean, the camera thing only came in much later, even with like cell phones actually. And my first macro lens I got was on an holo clip on my iPhone. And this kind of piqued my interest even more. And from there on, it kind of got into moving on to a decent camera, like a Canon, and then moving on to a more decent Canon. Not Canon, camera, like an Olympus. And then
easy tiger.
So it's all the same. But the thing that piqued my interest specifically with the macro stuff with jumping spiders and how cute and just interesting and interested they seem about their world they are occupying, basically. So this is really cool, and I just jumped in from there and found online groups and Instagram, and basically just took it from there. So that's essentially my story in terms of macro and getting into photography.
And you also we're going to talk about a little bit later the gear that you have, and that there's obviously so many different sides to it. You can approach it from a sort of a really entry level type of thing. Like you're saying, you start off with like an iPhone and some magnifying lenses, etc. Progress to a bridge camera, whatever, or you can come at it from the other end where you've got a fantastic lens, speed lights, flashes, the whole thing, and you do focus stacking, etc. So it's going to be pretty cool for the audience, I think, to see your I'm going to call them MacGyvered. I don't know if there's a German phrase for the MacGyvering of kit, but it looks really cool.
MacGyver.
Yeah.
MacGyver.
Oh no, that's fantastic. I think it's really cool that that you've made that. When we put this together, I don't have a macro sort of flash kit or anything like that, but I've got speed lights. So I made this bracket that goes under the camera with two aluminium arms that I've attached two speed lights to, one on either side. I haven't gone out and take a shot in anger yet. But that's the aim. I want to see if I can do that with the stuff that I've got. And that I think is one of those things. If you can use what you've got and make it work. And I think that's the cool thing, because this is very approachable. Everyone can do this.
Yeah. As you said, you basically need even your pop-up flash on your camera. You can use with a little piece of foam just in front of this, and you can take macro pics, provided that you have the lens or an extension tube that you can use. So there's various ways and means of doing this. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, when people realize that and they aren't intimidated by it, I think it can be a lot of fun, especially things you don't have to, set up a shoot, you can literally walk outside, or especially in some cases you can be inside, and find spiders and ants and things like that, so it's very accessible. And I think that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. On that point, sometimes the bugs come to you, and this is probably one of the easiest parts of photography that you can do, because you can be literally sitting in your house and they will come to you, pose, and then you can just let them be. So this is actually really cool.
Well, they talk about the big five and the small five. This could be the inside five, or the come to you five.
Yeah, that could be. So
no, that's cool.
Yeah, would you like to have a look at the setup first?
Yeah. Let's have a look at that setup. Yeah, absolutely.
Seeing as we've spoken about the equipment anyway, moving on from the one to the next. I don't have my Olo clip anymore that I used on my cell phone, but I do have my Olympus. This is the OMD EM1 Mark II. They've released the EM Mark III recently, and essentially I have just an additional flash on this one, and the 60mm macro lens that they have. This thing is amazing. It can do pretty good, I think, portraits as well. But the portraits that I do is basically macro portraits. So yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. It's still a portrait.
And exactly, yeah. And then for the MacGyvered diffusers, so this is an old Vitalis Knusper Plus. This is like a cereal box, which...
Does it have to be a specific type of cereal to make for good images?
Yeah, probably like Cocoa Pops or something. But the thing is that worked out for me for this was that it was exactly the same width as my camera. Yeah, which is probably not a good thing, because what I would like to do is actually expand the width of the diffusing material to get a broader spread of light over the subject as well. And for that, I also have this high-tech piece of equipment, which is essentially just a piece of packaging material and something to attach it to the lens, which is basically the hole in front there. And I have some Velcro tape that I've basically stuck to the top of my flash, which then connects to the camera. So
fantastic. It's a little bit like Ian van Niekerk in the States with his black foamy thing. That he uses for shoots. It's basically just a black foam thing that he uses to prevent the flash from blowing out people's eyes. Those homemade things are fantastic. They really can work so well.
And the thing is, I've tried so many different approaches, like using a Pringles can, which you put on the flash just to kind of direct the light. But as you play around with these things, you realize that just keeping it simple sometimes, or most of the time, just makes much more sense than trying to overcomplicate these things. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And the thing is also that what you've got to bear in mind, and we've spoken about this as well, is the fact that you are going to be carrying this rig around with you in the garden on your knees under some shrubbery. And, if it's nice and light, it's going to make it easier. If it's quite heavy, and you're going to add a little bit of camera shake, etc. And when you're got a focus depth of like 1 millimeter, if your camera is heavy and it's moving around and that sort of thing, you're not necessarily going to hit that focus every time.
Exactly. I mean, as you said, we mentioned, or we spoke about this before, but even just breathing, you change your focal plane, and this is your heartbeat. Sometimes even you can see the little movements of how your heart's beating in terms of you're focusing on the subject, which is insane at this level of magnification. So yeah, it's really cool and challenging at the same time.
Well, now that we've covered gear, technique, heartbeat, etc., let's check out some of your images and see how you've put them together.
Cool. So as we've noted with the camera flash and crawling around and everything, this is one picture. Okay, so I've taken this picture of the spider. This spider was actually on a bridge over the Isar River in Munich. I mean, this background doesn't really add much, but in terms of using a flash and not using a flash. So this is using a flash. You can see there's much more detail. You can or you can even zoom in a bit and get more detail based on your ISO and all that sort of ISO settings, because you have much more light to work with. Whereas this, it has a different feel to it in my mind. You also get the background, whereas with the flash, because you're using a flash, it kind of blows out everything in the background. So there's different ways of approaching these things as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I've seen online. I know within the Hunters of Light community, there's also, I forget the guy's name, but his profile picture has a hat on, and he
is that Joe?
He always shoots with. Sorry,
is that Joe? Whose surname I can't pronounce? Is it not Joe?
No, it's not. No, it's not Joe. I think it's someone else. But he says that he always shoots with natural light, and I think he also uses a Canon and with the MPE lens. And that to me is amazing, because you need so much light to work with this level of magnification and this close to these creatures.
Absolutely. So, I mean, what is your aperture for something like this?
My standard aperture, basically for shooting, it's standard settings that I set on my camera, because I know this works for me currently. It's f5.6, so I range between f5.6 and 9 or 10.
Okay.
Yeah. Depending on the circumstances, I kind of play around with it. So, but it's in that range. And I think this also depends on the camera system that you use, the lens that you use. So you really need to play around to find the sweet spot within your setup. But that's also part of the fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's just the difference between flash and no flash.
I love it.
So
I prefer the flash one, personally.
Yeah. The flash one, to me, it's also pretty cool because it gives you more detail.
Yeah.
I could probably get more detail here as well using stacking, mounting this thing on a tripod, not the spider, but the camera. And
I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yes. And then doing a lot of stacked images, and then just compiling the stack in either Photoshop, or you also get other software like Serene Stacker. And I think there was another one that's pretty famous, or that's pretty used out there. I forget the name now.
Okay.
But so there's quite a couple of ways to actually stack these things. And it's much easier these days than it used to be a while back. Even some of the cameras now, I'm not sure about the Canon system. I think the 60 or the new range of cameras you get there also have inbuilt stacking, which you can switch on.
Yeah,
and then this just does it in camera, which makes it a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, the EOS R5 and R6 have that built in, and cool. You can then also use Canon's DPP processing software to do the stacking in that. So there, it's like a closed ecosystem, I suppose. Do it in the camera, use the software to do it, and for the software also to look at any lens, tweaking that needs to be done, chromatic aberration, etc., all in one thing. And that's, that could be quite interesting. I've never tried it out, so maybe that's another thing that I need to push myself on in this macro month.
Yeah, I think that'd be a cool experiment for you to check out. Because I know with the Olympus, you have various options. You can do the stacking in camera, and it completes the whole picture for you in camera. And then you also have another option where you can go above 15 frames. Then you can do like 100 frames or whatever, but then you need to stack outside of the camera.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah, which is also pretty cool. Cool. Yeah. So moving on to, let me see what's the next one here. So yeah, Mantis. This, I don't know, what feeling do you get when you look at this? Because from my perspective, this would be the last thing that some insect is seeing, and then it's over and done with.
Yeah, exactly.
This is, yeah.
I'm thinking that either if it's a male, it might be the last, that look on his face when he realizes he's about to be eaten. But if you are the creature that it's eating, then yeah, that is the last thing before the head comes down and takes off your head.
Yeah. So this is, so the one thing that I'm trying to always do is get as low as possible with these bugs and the insects that I'm stalking, for lack of a better word, because these are, I mean, you're so used to just seeing this little dot running around on the ground or this thing in the tree that you don't really get down to their level.
Yeah.
And getting down to their level just opens up a complete new perspective in terms of how you can approach these things and make their world also seem a bit more, how can I put this, relatable in terms of what you're actually observing them doing. So,
well, that's the thing, I find a lot of these insects to now start having personalities, and you can definitely relate to them when they're sort of on a human scale, as opposed to an ant that's a couple of millimeters in length. Once you see it magnified, and you see the detail and the mandibles and all of those things, that you just sort of have a completely different appreciation for them.
Yeah, I mean, this brings, or it makes me think of another point regarding macrophotography, and because like within every subculture, there's also this group of people that you tend to then meet and share your passion with. And for example, with the whole personality-wise story related to the insects, there's even this guy on Instagram that's taken one of my images, and he's a cartoonist, and they've actually created a comic book based on this one. It was a mantis fly, and I think I have one of the pictures here as well, where they basically turned this into a comic, which is awesome. So,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really cool in how other people also interpret your imagery, even though you would never have thought of it in this way. But they tend to pull out the characteristics even more and enrich the experience of actually sharing these images with other people. So that's always great.
Yeah.
Finding these extra little gems in there. So let me just, okay. Yeah. So this is also a little baby spider, actually. This one was, as I mentioned before, sometimes you don't have to go far. This is in the apartment building in Pretoria that I lived in. The staircase had some windows, and this little guy made its home in the one corner of the window there. So, it's just really cute. And this is also the reason, as I mentioned before, jumping spiders are just, they're the cutest spider, it's not species, but the cutest little spiders that I could think of to get people interested in these type of things.
Absolutely. So, and you forget about the number of legs and if it's going to bite you and all of those sorts of things. When you see those eyes, they make all the difference.
Yeah, it's just such cute. And I'm not sure if you've heard of Lucas the spider, but there's also a YouTube series of this guy creating like an animation.
Yeah.
Using 3D stuff for Lucas. And
sure.
This is a really cute little jumping spider. But, This image is basically just the contrasting colors to me was good. This is probably a pretty crappy photo, and it also doesn't really show the animal's head or anything of the eyes, but the fact that the purple and the green to me just worked.
I like it. I like the color differentiation there, and how much the little guy sticks out.
Yeah, and to me, this is I think evolutionary. This is probably a fault on this whole what the caterpillar's thinking, because it's so easy to spot this thing. It probably didn't survive that long, I'm guessing, because this is really
there's no camouflage there.
Yeah, no camouflage at all. So yeah.
Love this one. Love this one. I just want to stroke it. It's like a little puppy with a long nose.
Yeah, and it seems like it has a really big smile on its face.
Yeah, you just want to play with it.
Yeah. This is so awesome. I found this actually yesterday, I think. When did I post it? Yesterday.
I think it was yesterday,
Yeah, I found it yesterday. I was going for a stroll, and I wanted to actually take pictures of some ducks at the nearby pond. And on my way back, I took my macro lens with as well, and I saw this on the path heading back home, and so I had to stop and take a couple of pics.
How big is it?
The detail on this is probably a centimeter.
Okay,
it's that big. Yeah. From the tip of its nose to the back of its butt.
Wow.
I think it's like a centimeter. It's really cute, and but it's also it's a mission for them to just pose in the right way to get a shot. And this is also something else that I wanted to mention, is that I generally don't handle the insects at all. It's mostly, I would kind of move the leaf around as an example,
right?
Just to be able to get to a better vantage point or a better angle to get a shot. But generally, I would rather just let them walk around in the natural habitat and just observe and see what they're doing. And take pics of that.
So here's a question for the purists out there. I mean, from my sort of art direction, background, I would want to take the top part of the leaf away, just so that you've got the little creature there without the sort of the background. I'd carry the leaf on behind it out there. So do you do any of that type of manipulation to clean images up, or do you like to keep it as is?
I try to keep it as is, but I try to also get my framing done correctly when I'm shooting. So I would walk around this whole plant if I could. If I saw something that would frame it better. And I think I may have an example of that a bit later on, but if I don't, I could probably open it later and we can share it. So I would really physically move the camera around until I get the framing correct.
Okay.
Because to me, it's about representing nature in what it is. Also, this probably comes back to your purist type of thing, but from another angle, because
cool. Well, I like it. I love this image.
Necessarily edit it. Cool. On to the next one. Again, getting back to the first point. Well, one of the previous points of getting down to the level of the creatures. So these insects. I mean, when last have you been down to the level of an ant and seen what these things actually look like? Because this, to me, it's amazing, the structure of their forms and how they are able to move about, and I mean the variety that you get within this. So,
I'm just going to say that this ant looks more dangerous than that jumping spider. There's something about ants at this size that really do scare me. But the other thing that I thought about is, I wonder if animal eye tracking would pick up this little guy's eye and focus on that. Another thing to try.
Do they have that capability within some? Because I know that in some systems, camera systems, they have specific types of animals that they kind of focus on to track. as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
the Canon's new. Now, I'm a Canon shooter, so that's what I know. But the R6 and the R5 have both human and animal eye tracking. The animal eye tracking works on birds as well as animals. It does get a bit tricky on animals that have where the head is the same color as the eye,
yes.
and you don't have the sort of the white of the eye or something like that, then it might get a bit tricky there. But with something like this, it's either going to look at the eye on its head, or the bit at the back and think, well, that's something round, maybe that's it. So that's going to be something interesting to look at.
Okay, yeah, cool. And I'm also wondering about spiders and stuff. And here's another little ant that, if this approached you at night and it's a little bit bigger, I would also not want to be there.
Absolutely. I mean, it really does make me a little nervous,
Yeah. Yeah. Another story related to these ants or these pictures is that there's another person that I've actually sent some photos to that they started creating, or they were busy 3D printing models of ants. So I also managed to help them in taking photos of the some of these ants, so that they have a closer view as to like the mouth parts or the body parts and stuff like this, to actually be able to fabricate modeling of some of these creatures. So that was also pretty cool.
It's incredible. I mean, just when you start looking at their, I think what their mandibles and their eyes and their antenna and all of those things, it just it does actually look like a model. You know what I mean? It's because we're not used to seeing them at this size. You do start wondering if it's real. And I just think they look so beautiful.
Just like a pose thing.
Yeah.
Really cool. Oh, and there's another. I thought this is a pretty cool portrait. To me, this is just like, what are you looking at? Or this is just like a Mona Lisa of Mantis. Yeah. Just maybe need a little bit of a different background, but this works, I think.
Yeah, it's there's definitely you can interpret so much out of this. It's like a he's looking at you, you're looking at him, and what there's a bit of personality there for sure.
She could be pouting as well. I don't know. I mean, there's so many mouth parts there. Who knows what she's thinking?
Exactly. So how do you know if it's a he or a she?
I'm just guessing this is a she because she's got an attitude.
Right. Okay.
But other than that, it could be a he. In this case, this is the other thing. I am not I don't really study insects as such. So, but with this photography, you get to learn a lot about them as well. And what you've just mentioned is, how do you know whether it's a he or she? This is something I should also get to know. And I could probably ask someone online that's also following me in terms of the photography, and they would easily tell me. So,
well, let's put it out there. So, Anton van Niekerk, Des Pelzer, let's have your comments in the below. Let's hear if this is male or female, and go.
Yeah, they probably need some more information, like more pictures. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. This is normally this slug. The reason why I included this here is because just to show the focusing, because a lot of times you get creatures that have, as in this case, the eye stalks with the eyes, they move independently. So to get them both into focus at the same time, in the same plane, is sometimes really difficult, especially when the creature's moving around. And even though this is a snail and they don't move that much, the sliver of the depth of field that you have to work with is so narrow that you need to really shift yourself around to get that plane of focus correct.
Yeah, it's something that then when we had the creative showcase with Kate Jonker, Depending on the size of the creature that you're shooting, in order to get the whole thing in focus, it's sometimes the only way to do that is to have it side on. So that you don't have a huge distance from the front to the back. Because obviously at that size, at that magnification, unless you focus stacking, you're never going to get everything in focus.
Yeah, and I think this also comes into the creativity or the creative side of things. Because it depends on what you would really want to do. Do you want to record this for like scientific purposes type of thing? Because then you want to get all the detail in.
Yeah.
Do you want to play around with being creative? Then I find the bokeh, the blurriness in the background, all that type of stuff adds to the effect that you're trying to get to. So it's a lot of playing around it. And I don't know if you can see in the top right hand side of the eye, you can see the reflection of the diffuser. So in this case, I tried a little thing, something different. I had the normal top part diffuser and also added a white part at the bottom to try and bounce the light from both at the bottom as well as the top. And this is also something that I want to explore a bit more to get some more illumination all around. Because in a lot of this, what you do is you have the light coming from the top because your flash is flashing from the top of it.
Yeah.
And to create light and a soft light from the bottom as well is not that easy so far.
Absolutely.
So this is something I also really play around.
I think that's also something that when, in my thinking, when I'm wanting to approach this type of thing, I'm because of the fact that I use lights in the studio, I use lights on location, and it plays a big part in how I build the images. My thinking is, okay, so I want a light to come from the top right. I want something a bit bottom left, and then I just want a bit of light on the back. So I'm already thinking, well, we're going to bring in like 4 lights, and I mean,
good luck.
Yeah, I forget. Yeah, exactly. I forget that this is probably 3 centimeters. But the and that also, I suppose, is one of those things that actually stops me from going out and just taking some pictures because I'm over analyzing it like crazy. But what you're saying now, just with adding that extra bit of reflector at the bottom, it definitely lightens the image and it gives it a little bit more visual appeal, which I think is great.
Yeah. So just to add something to your mission of taking as many lights and creating a like outdoor studio, what you also need to take into consideration is the working space, because a lot of times these subjects are in such close quarters, or they are right down on the ground, or in a tree somewhere. You need to maybe be able to scale this tree or crawl through this bush to actually get to this thing. And if you have like 4 lights dangling from your camera, they probably won't survive this expedition. So I think, just take this into consideration.
Oh, I love this one.
Yeah, this to me was really cool because it was just sitting there. This is also in the garden at the apartment that I used to live in, and this garden had a lot of these little jumpers, and I was lucky enough to find this one sitting on this leaf, kind of like looking over the edge, searching for a spot to go to, I think, or to who knows what they are thinking, but they always look so inquisitive and always moving around and clambering about.
That's beautiful.
And something that just looking at my MacGyver rig again, you can see the hot spots in the eyes, and this is also something that with additional foam you can soften this up as well. But being really lazy, I should change it a bit and update my MacGyver rig a bit. So, I mean, this is part of the whole process.
Well, exactly. You start somewhere. And then you can say, well, how do I improve that? The point number 1, you've got an incredible shot here. Right now, let's nitpick it a little bit. You know what I mean? I think that when you get to the point of being able to nitpick it, well, then you've clearly got something to start off with. And I think it's an important lesson for everyone. Just get out there and start somewhere, and get to a point of feeling confident with what you're doing. And then you can improve as you go, as you learn. What we were saying? We were saying once you spend 10,000 hours shooting these little creatures, then, you should know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it becomes second nature, basically. And it also, you get to know your camera settings so well, and you can, on the fly, kind of change it to adjust for the lighting, because that's the other thing. In a bright, sunny day, you still maybe want to produce shadow over this thing because the sunlight might be blowing out or reflecting too much within the eyes, as an example. And you don't necessarily want that. So you want to be able to approach the subject without scaring it away and covering it up and then flashing the hell out of it to get all the detail that you want to get. So it's a bit of a tricky situation sometimes to get a decent shot. Let's see what's next. Oh yeah, this one. I included this picture because this just, to me, this looks like the top left-hand side ant with the open mouth was just yelling at the other one leaving. I don't know, it seemed like they had some fight of some sort, and then the one decided, I've had enough, and that it just left. So there's all these little scenes that you can kind of, or that in my mind, I kind of experience, and this is also part of the joy that I find from macro photography, is that you discover these worlds with these little type of stories that you can see happening in front of you, and this is really interesting to me.
Yeah, that's lovely. I mean, it could almost be, Brian, don't do it. You'll fall. No, Brian.
and it's over.
Yep. Ah, well.
Yeah.
Another lovely.
Another one. Yeah, in that same garden where the previous one was, also this little guy. And I remember now that this one, I took this picture just before it jumped. And it's amazing how far these little things can actually jump. I think it's like 20 to 30 times their body weight, body length. It's insane, the amount of space they can cover in a single bound. It almost sounds like Superman, but yeah, it's really cool. And again, so
see, now you've got me thinking about the hotspot.
Yeah. I shouldn't have said that.
You shouldn't have said that.
Damn it. But I mean, it could either add to the image or it could take away from it as well. Because, it also depends on the frame, or the shape of the diffuser. Because what I've also been thinking about is playing around a bit more with the shape of the diffuser itself. Because this reflects in the eyes. And if you have a different type of shape, you could put in some type of effect staring back at you. And you can even see, if you look closely to the top left-hand side eye, you can see that reflecting in the eye is some of this spider's legs on the leaf. So I could actually zoom in, and you could see this reflection, kind of like what the spider is looking at currently is this big white box and its own feet in front of it.
Yeah,
it's really amazing the amount of detail you can get these days.
That's fantastic.
And you can also see the little, I want to say teeth, but what did they call them? Yeah, but I mean, these things they've jumped. I've not handled them, but they've jumped on me while taking the photos so many times, and I've never been bitten or anything to that effect by any of these spiders, because they're really inquisitive little creatures, and they really just explore and try to survive on their own. So this one was in Namibia, and there they have the small 5 or something tour that you can go into.
Right.
And this, I think it's like a Nama gecko of some sort that digs 60 centimeters into the ground during the day, and they come out at night because of the sun. And we went on a tour to have a look at these things, and I just took the camera with, and I also made a makeshift diffuser there just to be able to take pictures of this. So even while traveling, if you could just get some basic equipment, you can quickly put something together to be able to have a little diffuser.
It's incredible how shallow that depth of field is.
Yes, yeah. If I had more time to play around, and if we didn't want to let this little guy out of its burrow for longer, then could have taken a lot more frames and probably done a decent stack. But it also don't want to harm the animals and stuff. So
yeah, absolutely.
This guy was taken out of its resting place and then just put back as soon as we were done.
Okay.
So, I think it's still really important to consider the animals, because they don't choose for you to invade on their territory, and it's one of the things that you need to always be considerate of, I think.
I agree.
So, the main focus of this was the stink bug / shield bug. But then I saw in the bottom left-hand side, you'll see there's a little guy just scurrying to the left. And that's a springtail that, I don't know if you can see it.
Yes.
Right here. So this little springtail was just an exciting discovery for me after the fact, because they are super tiny, and you need like next level magnification to get really close to them, and also, well, first of all, find them and then get close to them and take a pic. So,
Nice.
Something that is probably not as prevalent in South Africa is snowflakes and snow. And this is from the last winter, my first proper winter here in Germany, that I was able to take some pics of snowflakes. And this is really amazing to me still. So, just show you.
I got a link from someone, and I for the life of me, I can't remember who it was that was doing it, but the same sort of thing with sand, and it looks very, very similar, which I find remarkable.
I'm thinking that I'm thinking of the same person that does this with sand. I think that it could be something completely different. It's one-on-one photography or something, or one-to-one. But this guy does some amazing stuff, and he also just takes grains of sand, stacking them on top of one another, and then takes these type of photos, which is really amazing.
Absolutely. No, it's incredible the detail and beauty in those shapes.
Robber flies, and what can I say about these guys? They're really awesome. They're like punk. If you take a look at the hairdos, and they're really hardcore hunters as well. So they basically also fly around and just take out either other flies or whatever they can get their grubby little paws on, and they just take care of some more pest control without being pests themselves. Which is great.
So here's a question. Are things like robberflies and the jumping spiders, do they have sort of seasonal appearances and hibernate during winter type of thing, or are they all year round? I mean, it's probably going to sound like a strange question.
No, it's not a strange question at all. The thing is, the bugs generally, what I found is winter, there are much less of them. And as I said, I'm not a biologist or anything, so I just observe what's happening. And what I could see was that I find it more difficult during the winter months to actually get more subjects to actually take photos. In South Africa, I think it's pretty good because most of the year is pretty warm actually. And even in winter time, if you go out in the sun, you'll be bound to find. I think even some of these guys flying around still and hunting down other insects. So, but yeah, here in a bit more north in Europe, winter is really cold and I could not find anything really worth shooting, and this is why I ended up taking the snowflakes and having a look at the snowflakes and stuff. So, but yeah, I think it depends on what your interest is in. Specifically, if it's for some specific insect types, then there's most probably going to be hibernation or some of them that will not be available during the winter months.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. Love the colors.
Yeah. So this is all in the same. As I said before, you don't have to go far to get a lot of these things, especially in South Africa, because it's so abundant there, and also in summer, spring, summertime. It's really, you can just turn around and you'll see so many things that you can actually take photos of. So this hoverfly was luckily for me, taking a break on this leaf, and I managed to get quite a couple of shots actually. And this one was from the front, obviously, but also a little bit from the side, and where it was cleaning its head and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's just interesting to observe these little things.
Absolutely.
And to see what they actually look like. And yeah.
You mentioned you got quite a few shots of it. What is the normal hit rate? So now you arrive in front of this little creature. You bring on the 3 or 4 lights and the diffuser and the gear team and lighting and catering, etc. How many shots do you get? I mean, is it normally like one shot and the thing's you freaked out and moves off, or do you often get a few?
No, yeah. I mean, this is on a case-by-case basis, basically. So generally, I think you would at least get one shot. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you're lucky and they just remain. And you can get up to 10, 20 shots. And then you can then leave them. It all depends, I think, on the time of day. Early in the mornings are better because they are still kind of cold and waking up. So then I think a lot of people can also manage to get quite a decent amount of stacked images of some flies or whatever insects. But during the heat of the day, it gets a bit more difficult because they're much more active, and you tend to only get like maybe one chance of a shot, and then it's over. So so I would take it down to the time of day, and then also the type of insect or the creature that you're actually trying to photograph.
Okay.
Yeah. This is not a creature, it's obvious. This also brings me to just like a still life type of thing. So even the slightest the raindrops, as an example, is to me is something that I'm still struggling to capture properly. Because after some rain, there's so many beautiful little scenes out there that is still, it's difficult, especially with a flash and all the other type of stuff that you would generally use. So this is without a flash and just shooting up into the air. And I just thought this looked pretty cool because of the contrast and the shape of the droplet.
So for me, this could be a snake with like a raindrop hanging off of it. But the way that it moves off into the top right, I mean, it's such an interesting image. That could be like smoke almost. It's a very, very interesting image.
Yeah, kind of dissipates, right? It just kind of flows away and into nothing. Yeah, that's
cool.
Pretty cool that you mentioned this, because I'm seeing what you've described, and this is kind of stuck in my mind now as well. Because the thing is, I know what this was.
Yes.
And if you're thinking of it from another perspective, this becomes something else as well. And this is also something, it's really abstract. Thinking about it in that way. This is actually pretty cool. So this
it's
could
very
be
cool.
framed a little bit differently. I think if this is in the center of the image, then it could be just something floating with some smoke coming out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and people are going to say, well, but how did you get the water to burn? Where's the smoke? You know what I mean? It's and I think that's what's interesting. If you can create images that pose questions, or people look at it and go, but now what is it? What do you feel, etc. That then becomes more like a fine art type image, and that's something that again I think I mentioned with either Lizette or Kate about it being a technical photograph or an fine art photograph. And that very, very shallow depth of field, for me straight away, that's a fine art type feel and something that you want to put on the wall. And this for me would be the same. It's you're looking at it and you're going, well, what is it? It's so sure. I love it.
Yeah. And you can also start playing around then with this type of stuff. You can play around, I think, also more with the editing and more Photoshop, whatever, and you can manipulate it a bit more. But with most of my stuff, I've not really done much manipulation. It's basically light levels and a little bit more detailed sharpening, I think, and that's basically it.
Cool.
So this is one of the first images I took with the Olympus, actually, after switching over from Canon, and I was just blown away by the detail that this was actually capturing, as well as the saturation, the colors and stuff, but this ladybug just looked like it had gone through so many battles with all the stuff on its shell or on the carapace, and it's just I just thought the smoothness of the ladybug, the back and the tree that she was walking over, because this one was laying eggs basically. I just thought that the different coloration here was really cool.
That's lovely.
This is just a really colorful. I think it's a fruit fly or something. I'm not sure. Someone will definitely correct me, but this is.
Put the comments. The correct name in the comments below.
Exactly. Oh man! But this has got some psychedelic eyes, and I thought that was really interesting. I have some other shots of it from the front as well, but there's so much to choose from actually. But coloration was really cool.
Yeah, I love this one as well.
Colorful one. This is a really camouflaged little jumping spider. So I think a lot of people won't even really realize that when they're walking past some trees or outcrops or whatever, there's so much life actually scurrying about, which goes unnoticed, which in a sense might be a good thing, and then probably also not so good.
This is the lesser known subspecies of the cheerleader jumping spider with the pom-pom attachments.
With the pom-poms. Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Her name is Sheila.
It could just be a big mustache. I'm not sure. It all depends.
Oh, dear.
So, just another ladybug. This one was on my phone. She flew into the apartment. It came for a visit, so I just put my phone down and she got onto the phone as well. And so that adds for the little reflection. This one was also kind of cleaning her or its face, wiping stuff off, which was also pretty cool with some of the other frames that I had.
Oh, nice.
Referring back to the story of the cartoon that was created, this is the specimen that was used in that cartoon that the person created. So this turned out to be some, it was just an interesting comic thing that they made of this. And this was also a really interesting example of evolution, because this is a mantis fly, which is no relation to any mantids at all.
Wow.
Actually, they're completely different species, but they evolved the same type of traits over time.
Weird. Because those antennae look exactly the same.
Yeah, and the arms. They also have I have another side shot of this, which you would think this is like they've taken the body of a fly or the wings of a fly basically and stuck this onto a mantis or something to this effect. But it's completely different species. They're not really related to one another in any way, except for just looking the same.
Sure.
In certain places. So, this is really an interesting thing for me. I thought this is like a superhero type of pose. This spider was ready to like punch or just jump into the air and fly away. But yeah, this is all the stories you just make up in my mind.
Yeah.
This is really interesting.
Interesting body language there.
Yeah, exactly. A nursery web spider that was also living in the apartment block, taking care of some flies flying around. This one's just busy eating something. So, getting down to their level again.
Yeah.
But one of the funny things is that when looking through the camera and you're this close to the spider and it starts to move, you're bound to hear little squeaks almost of fright from me, because if this thing looks this big in front of you and it starts moving towards you or just away, then my immediate reaction is normally just to see where the hell is this thing gone to.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh man. And I should be less afraid of spiders these days, but this is still a bit scary sometimes.
Sure. No, that was really, really cool. I'm blown away by the sort of the detail and the character and that sort of thing. The more I talk about macro photography with the guests that we've had on this month, the more I just want to go out and shoot. There's just so much character in them that I can see that it could become addictive, where you sort of have a little bit of break. Oh, come, let's go and see if we can find a jumping spider or a whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
Yeah, it's like a treasure hunt to me, because you almost never know what you're going to be. Okay, I never know what I'm going to be finding, and this is what's the exciting part. Even like this weevil, I never expected to see any weevil or anything. This just, I saw something, I inspected it a little bit closer, and then this thing popped up. So that was awesome. It's just because I'm not a biologist, I don't study these insects. I don't really know where they're supposed to be at what time. This is what I find interesting. It's really relaxing to just go and technically challenging sometimes, but it's really cool.
Yeah, and I think the fact that it is so, I want to say the barrier to entry can be fairly low, because you really just need one lens. And you can use a pop-up flash, but let's assume that it's always going to be better with a speed light, and your own sort of determination. Go out, look for the little creatures, shoot more, and then shoot more, and then shoot more, and then improve, etc. And anyone can do it. It's not like you need a sort of a 600mm lens. And a 4-wheel drive, and need to drive 6 hours or whatever to the Kruger. You can do this anywhere. So and in my opinion, create fantastic images. I mean, the pictures that I've seen of the robber flies and jumping spiders, etc. At a certain size, they just become so real. And I just love that. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. To add to the comment regarding the kit that you need, I mean, if you have your normal standard kit lens, and you just get, these are extension tubes.
Extension tubes, yeah.
Yeah. If you add this to that, you're basically there. And these are, I think you can get them really cheap as well. I'm not sure where these days, but Amazon or any outdoor photo or whatever Photoshop basically would have, or would be able to assist you with something like that.
Exactly. And the thing is also that it's because there's no glass in it. It's not going to affect the quality of the image. You don't have to have a Canon extension tube. Anyone that's got the right fitting will work. So that is another thing that makes it really, really easy. And then what you can also do is get the close-up lenses or close-up filters, which you can screw onto the end of your lens and magnify it again.
Yes, like this one. This is a Raynox. It's Raynox macroscopic lens M250, and this can also be used on basically almost any lens, but on most lenses to just add that extra additional magnification. And the quality of those lenses is also pretty good. So
no, that's fantastic.
It all works out.
Shaun, I really appreciate your time and showing all the images to us. We'll wrap this up in a nice bow, put it up on YouTube, and people can go and check it out there. So while I'm here, just a reminder to everyone, firstly, if you've watched these in the past and you've subscribed, thank you very much. We really, really appreciate it. If this is the first one that you're watching, I hope Shaun was a good intro to macro for you. I certainly enjoyed the pictures, but just remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that it helps the channel. It helps us grow, helps us be able to create more content like this, but also you'll be notified when we put something else up. And there's a lot of really, really cool stuff coming. If you haven't entered the photo theme this month, the macro competition, you still got a couple of days left to win a fantastic 100mm macro lens. Now that's a great entry into macro. But next month there is a killer lens that's going to be up for grabs. So remember, like, subscribe. This is all happening here for you.
And the 100mm Canon macro lens is really awesome. I used to have one as well. It's a brilliant lens.
Absolutely, absolutely. Cool. Well, Shaun, again, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time to chat to me about it. I know it's on the weekend, so I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah, no, thanks for inviting me. It's really cool to be able to geek out a bit on the macro stuff, because not everyone actually gets it. So it's awesome. And
I don't know why not. I mean, I suppose this is also the first journey for me into macro, and just seeing these images, it's incredible. So I want to thank you for inspiring me. I mean, the Hunters of Light has always been about education, motivation, and inspiration. And I've always said, if I'm the only one that's inspired, well, then that's job done. Then I feel good about it, and away we go. But I think there's a lot of people out there that are going to look at this and go, okay, me too. I also want to. Where can I sign up? So thank you so much.
And to add to this, if anyone has any questions, I think I'm also part of your page.
Yeah.
I'm also on Instagram and all that type of stuff. So they can always drop me a message, and I can try to help where I can. So,
absolutely. And if we don't have a macro discussion forum, I'll set one up, and we can start posting images and the McCabe guidelines as to how to create softbox, and maybe someone will put something there about how to get rid of that hotspot as well. So and they could put in kits, download the it needs to be this serial box, etc. No, that's awesome. Thanks, Shaun. Appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks, Quinton.
All right. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Thanks, you too.
Cheers. Bye.